Black Swan, The 12 Lessons of Abandonment Recovery by Susan Anderson. Lesson 7. Summer draws to an end. This day is going to be different, decides the little girl as she looks out her window. She sees and hears the wind blowing against the tree branches. She walks downstairs to where the other children are eating. On most days, she peeks into the dining room, spying the food left over by the children, and then curls up in her usual hiding position under the kitchen counter to devour stolen scraps of food in secrecy. If the house parents catch her, they coax her out of the corner and lead her back to the long dining table and try in vain to get her to sit down amongst the others. This bright, blustery morning was going to be different. The little girl takes in a deep breath and practices finding the moment. First, with her ears, she hears the chatter of children in the dining room and the clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Then, with her eyes, she notices the light patterns coming through the windows. Finally, with her skin, she feels her arms being gently pulled by the house parents on either side. This time, she is not resisting as they take her along into the dining room. Suddenly, a stripe of sunlight beams across the dining room table. It catches the silverware with a dazzling sparkle, delighting her for a moment. And then she notices that the other children seem peaceful, sitting at the table. They are talking and laughing amongst themselves and not bothering her. She tugs at the sleeves of the house parents and bids them to sit with her at the end of the table. They go along with her request, looking with wonder at the little girl who is now sitting among the others. She doesn't look directly at the children, but she sits beside them nonetheless. The house parents sit on either side of the little girl for a while, keeping her company. Then they tell her they must return to their duties. The little girl stays put at the table. She is able to stay through the whole meal, even though she lacks appetite and doesn't touch her soup or milk or any of her food except for one bite of warm apple pie at the very end. From then on, at each meal, the little girl sits quietly at the end of the table among the other children, taking pieces of bread in her pockets for later. A few weeks go by. It is the wee hours of the morning. The little girl suddenly awakens from a dream. Her heart pounds. The dream is about her parents. Their arms are around her. They are holding her tight. Their warmth feels so real, so loving. It is her first dream about them, and it is suddenly gone. Why must it only be a dream? She tries to get back into the dream. She squeezes her eyes shut and concentrates real hard, but the dream won't come back. "Mommy and Daddy, why'd you leave me?" she cries out. Her heart bursts with longing. She sinks in fear that they are never coming back. Why? Why? She sobs. She begins to drown in unbearable sadness and becomes afraid she will never get out. The moment, she thinks, her heart sinking with grief. She searches desperately for a moment, but the pain, it's too great. She is drowning in sorrow. But just as she is about to succumb to the worst of it, she imagines the swan's voice echoing through her chambers. "It's the loss, Amanda. The loss. It's the pain of loss. Face it. It hurts. It is life's greatest pain. It must be accepted, for it is real." "Don't leave me, Mommy. Daddy, please," screams the little girl, pulling the covers over her head. "Don't leave me," she cries and cries. "Somebody help me." She must have fallen asleep, for she wakes up much later feeling fuzzy in her head and numb all over. She wanders into the music room. It is filled with children. At once they are all looking at her, but she is not afraid. She sits among the floor around them. They turn their attention back to the song they are singing. The teacher asks them to hold hands in a circle. The little girl feels her hands being taken on either side. She feels uncomfortable inside her stomach, but doesn't pull away. She does not sing with the others, but lets her hands be held. She says her name within herself, lifting her chest, filling it with enough space for her name to be pronounced very loudly within. Her chest lifts almost all the way to her chin. She stays through the music lesson, letting the children's different voices filter in and around her, little tears falling down her cheeks. Later, when she is finally able to see her beloved Swan, she tells him about her experience with the other children and beseeches him with her broken heart. It is a cry for love. "I know that I am alone, and that I was left on a rock to die," she cries out, feeling this woman's arms circle around her. "And it hurts from my heart." "You are using great courage to face such a difficult reality as yours," says the Swan. "And that is good. But it hurts. I want my daddy and mommy to love me," pleads the little girl. "Close your eyes, Amanda," says the Swan, "so you can hear what I have to tell you. It will help you find warmth and comfort." The little girl complies, wiping a whole face of tears. "You are a child, and a child is love. Press your hands over your chest until you can feel the warmth from your palms come into your heart. Can you feel it?" The little girl presses and presses her palms over her chest and finally nods yes. "Imagine that this is the warm feeling of love." "It's not love," she cries. "It hurts too much in my heart." "You must learn to use the love that is there now." "But I don't have any." "You have the capacity for love, just as I do, Amanda. Its warmth is waiting for you." "But I don't know what to do," she cries. "You can begin with the idea of love, Amanda," says the Swan. "Press the idea into your chest. Feel the warmth and hold the idea of love in your heart." "I don't want an idea," sobs the little girl. "I want love." "It will build, Amanda. Build to love. Someday, you will share it with others." "I can't be with people. I feel too strange and bad around them, and they are mean to me." The Swan pulls back in the water. "I found my place among the others, even when they did not welcome me. When I found my capacity to love," he says, "my own love shone upon them, but I did not need them to receive it. My capacity for love was free for them to take or leave. Love has become my beacon, guiding my way through the giant ocean ever since." "But I don't have what you have," says the little girl. "When my mate left me, Amanda, she took all the love in my heart with her. I had nothing left except for yearning." "Why did she leave?" queries the little girl, her hands crossed over her heart. "I will tell you," promises the Swan, arching his neck toward the little girl. "But I will wait until the idea of love has had time to gather inside you." "Why can't you tell me now?" she begs. "It is a sad story, Amanda," says the Swan, "and I will need all of your warmth, your capacity for love, to receive it." "What if I never get enough?" asks the little girl, gazing upon her Swan. "Love is something others can give you, but when they aren't able to, you can only get it back by creating it within yourself. All you need is imagination, and that you have. Close your eyes and feel the warmth from your hands. Imagine that all of the love in the world is yours." "But it isn't," cries the little girl. "If you imagine it, it will be, Amanda," insists the Swan. The little girl gets her eyelids resting peacefully closed. "Imagine the world as love, Amanda. You're enveloped in it. You are at the center of it all, as we all are. A spark of awareness, giving and receiving love," says the Swan. The little girl is pressing her palms upon her heart, but suddenly stops. "What is there to love?" she cries, tears falling down her face. "I am alone." "So am I, Amanda. But I love." "Love what?" she demands. "I love life. I love existence. I love me. I love the idea of love." "That just goes in a circle," she protests. "It is the circle of love," agrees the Swan. "A perfect circle. Love resides in the heart's imagination, Amanda," he says, moving toward her in the water. "Imagine that the warmth in your hands is love." The little girl closes her eyes once again and burrows within herself, pressing warmth down into her heart. "Remember, Amanda, love begins with your own idea, your own warmth, and it glows right inside your sacred space." The Swan begins his turn in the water. "It takes lots of practice, and I will give you time. I will be here when you are ready to share its warmth, he says, gliding through the gathering of swans who make room out to the deepest waters.